I guess we're gonna talk about gaming today because I saw some stuff that just kind of miffed me, and it was like, why are these companies focused on making like 37 games instead of just making one good game? I was at GameStop the other day, and this is actually what kind of got me to start thinking about this. Is I got a couple of games. I got Deus Ex, which not great. I got Greedfall, which so far has not been great, and I got Call of Cthulhu. I spent like $40 on all these games, which compared to what a normal game costs at this rate, yeah, you're looking like 50, 60, $100 for just one game. But I spent like $40 on these games. They're all terrible. I haven't played Call of Cthulhu yet, so I can't say if that's terrible. But these are older games. These are older Xbox One games, and they're kind of crap. Uh, the Greedfall game feels a lot like Assassin's Creed, except you can't free run. That's kind of lame. Where I'm at with it so far, I've done a handful of things, and it feels like I'm just a messenger. I'm looking for a cousin or something like that, a brother or cousin, something like that. And I have to go get stuff to fix a table because he broke a table at a bar. And it just seems like, I don't know, it seems like games are very like, I don't know if these games are just slow to start. Like this Deus Ex, it's uh it's supposed to be like a cyberpunk Call of Duty basically. But it's not good. It's not good. And I was reading an article. I should have sent that article to myself so that I could pull it up. Where Ubisoft is talking about making. I think they're trying to make two new Far Cry games. They're trying to make two or three Assassin's Creed games and remaster an Assassin's Creed that has already come out. And I'm like sitting here thinking like Assassin's Creeds have been very mediocre for a while. Why are you remastering when you could just be like fixing games? Like the last Assassin's Creed, I really was like, oh my god, this is cool. Was Black Flag. Black Flag was a cool game, and I thoroughly enjoyed Black Flag. Now I will fully admit, when I played Assassin's Creed 3, which is the one you play as Connor during the Revolutionary War, the naval missions, I hated them. They bored the shit out of me. After playing Black Flag, going back to 3 and having a little bit of Black Flag in my Revolutionary War was super fun. It was super fun. I actually wanted to do the missions and find the treasures because Black Flag showed me what those missions could have been if they had the time to develop it. And so it turned into a, oh, it's really cool to actually go back and see like this is what it was before Black Flag came out. Now timeline, it's Black Flag then 3, but in the order the games came out, it was 3 then Black Flag. So like, but the historical timeline, um, Black Flag came out, or Black Flag happened, then 3 happened. But the events still actually kind of make sense with the worse boat handling and a little bit sloppier combat in 3 because it's been, I don't know how long it was actually. Well, let's see. So Edward was the father of Hatham. Hatham was the father of Connor. So it's been, a generation or so of pirating not being as big of a thing. So it makes sense that, there's less pirates now because it's into the 1700s. There's less pirates now. It makes sense, that it would be a little bit sloppier because as the need to fight pirates decreases, People probably aren't training that stuff as much. As the naval warfare decreases as far as just shipping and stuff goes, naval warfare decreases, the need to train naval warfare decreases. It kind of makes sense. It works out that even though the real reason we know that the reason that Assassin's Creed 3 does not have as good of naval warfare as Assassin's Creed 4 is because 4 was designed around naval warfare. It still makes sense. It still works. Some of the newer Assassin's Creed games, I'm just really not interested in. I have no want to play them. Um, I thought about Assassin's Creed Shadows, and at this point, I probably would have chose Shadows over all three of these games that I bought. And I'm not shitting on these games. I'm not saying these aren't good games. I'm just saying they're not engaging to me. They're not grabbing my attention. But I'm afraid to get Shadows because games are starting out very poorly, and they're really not super climactic. Now, if you go back to Red Dead Redemption, the first Red Dead Redemption, the beginning of that game was fucking boring. I would have rather watched paint dry than help Bonnie McFarlane with her bullshit ranch chores. It took me like 6 months to start that game, like 15 minutes at a time of, yeah, whatever, I'll do one mission. Yeah, whatever, I'll do one mission. One more mission. One more mission. Okay, fine, I'll break these horses. Okay, fine. I'll help you get the horses out of the burning barn. Okay, fine. I'm going to Armadillo and I'm talking to the marshal. And then, once you get into it a little bit, you can break up the homestead missions with the actual story missions. You know, I understand John's injured and Bonnie McFarlane saves him and John owes her a debt and John's working to pay off the debt. I understand that. I understand that concept. But I got a bigger problem. The government took my family. I can worry about owing you money later. The government has my wife and kid. I need to go, like, I gotta go find Bill and Javier so that I can have my kid and my wife back. It's ridiculous. I can't have this. I wonder where my anti-government thoughts came from. I played the shit out of this game when I was a kid. Um, and when I was a kid, I would just grit my teeth and I would just bear through the boring missions until I got to the point where almost every mission's a shootout. Almost every mission is action packed, and they're so good. They are so good. After you get past the tutorial with McFarlane's, Red Dead 2 gives you a very slow start, sprinkled with a little bit of action. It's very slow, but you got to find John because John's missing. When you find John, John's injured, and there's wolves about. These wolves are upset that you're taking their snack. Because Red Dead 2 takes place before Red Dead 1. This is the story of how John got his scars. So, we go and we fight these wolves. And we save John. And there's the mission at the Adler homestead where we find Sadie. And we beat up an O'Driscoll or two, and there's at least some action. We kill a couple of Driscolls, we beat that one dude up for information. Then we find John and we fight off the wolves, and there's a little bit, just enough that you're like, ooh, I wonder what's going to happen next. So far in Greedfall, the story has just been, hey, go find this guy. He was at a bar. And I go to the bar, and the bartender's like, I ain't telling you nothing until you pay for the damages that your asshole friend caused. Fair. Well, I don't have any money, and I don't know how to make money in the game, so the only option I have is to figure out how to fix these things. Well, I don't know how to fix these things. I don't mind a game that doesn't give you a lot of tutorial, but this game gives you, no tutorial. Gave me a little fighting tutorial, but so far in my adventure to figure out how to fix the table that he broke, I've been in 3 engagements with enemies, and I don't know who they are. I don't know why I'm fighting these people. I don't know what's happening. Let's rewind back to Assassin's Creed 2. First game we play as Ezio Auditore da Firenze, one of my favorite video game protagonists of all time. Ezio was a staple in my childhood. Everybody in my house would make fun of each other as Ezio. Every time one of us would be playing Assassin's Creed and Ezio would do something stupid, we'd all be like, Ezio, what are you doing? Like, we were a family united around Ezio. We all loved Ezio. Even my mom, who's not a big gamer, she doesn't play games very often. And when she does, she likes the simple, like Nintendo y kind of games. She does not like hard games. She's a very casual gamer. Even my mom had a connection with Ezio. I don't even know the protagonist's name in Greedfall or Deus Ex. I don't remember their names. And I just played these games yesterday. I couldn't tell you their names. They are not palatable characters. Ezio was palatable. John was a man on a mission to save his family. Arthur was the glue that holds this Vanderlyn gang together. And Arthur has to save John. Arthur has to help Miss Sadler because I ain't a good man, but I ain't them. Is what he something to that effect is what he says to Sadie when they save Sadie. Or he might say, "We ain't good men, but we at least we ain't them." Something like that. Arthur knows I'm a bad person. I do bad things, but those O'Driscolls are worse. They are worse than me. They do bad things just for the sake of bad. They don't do good. We do bad things because it pays well or we have to, but we also do good things. We help people. You know, the motto of Dutch's gang is we help people need helping, we shoot people need shooting. I mean that's a motto that you could live by today. I mean, you probably shouldn't go shooting people, but I digress. It feels like gaming has gotten very boring. When I played Far Cry 3 for the first time, I thought we were going to play as the brother, whose name escapes me at the moment. Army veteran, muscles McFuckface. I'm going to fucking obviously make this jungle my bitch because I'm an army ranger or whatever he was. And, he kills a guy or knocks him out or whatever he does, takes the keys, we escape the jail cell cage thing that we're in. And then he gets shot. And it's like, oh, I'm going to be the nerdy brother. I'm going to be this wimpy, dorky brother who's terrified and doesn't know his ass from a hole in the ground right now. This is who I'm going to be. And I immediately bonded with Jason because my brother in real life was Jason's brother. My brother in real life is a veteran. My brother in real life knows how to fight, knows how to shoot, knows how to do those things. And at the time when I was playing Far Cry 3, I didn't know how to shoot. I didn't know how to fight. I didn't know anything at the time. So I immediately bonded with Jason. I was the dorky little brother. I didn't know anything. I couldn't protect myself in the jungle. I didn't know how to survive in the wilderness. I didn't know how to start a fire. I didn't know. I was terrible. I could start a fire if I was out on the four wheeler and, I'd take a little stick and dip it in the gas tank. And yeah, I could start a fire like that. I couldn't start a fire with nothing but a lighter. I wasn't good at this stuff, but my brother could. My brother could start fires. My brother could whatever. Like, yeah, my brother, he's a soldier. Of course he can start a fire. He's a badass. That he's awesome. He could take on an island full of pirates by himself. Of course he could. I can't. I'm a dork. I immediately bonded with Jason. I didn't like Jason, but I bonded with Jason. I feel like video game characters now are unrelatable. You know, even with Edward in Assassin's Creed 4, it's kind of hard to connect with Edward because Edward's kind of a self centered dick. Edward's doing this for money. Now, he's doing this for money so that he can provide the type of life that he wants his wife to live. And I can now empathize with that because I believe the deal they made was 2 or 3 years. He would be gone. And in those 2 or 3 years, he's going to make enough money that they can live on their own, peaceful for the rest of their life. If someone came to me with that deal right now, 2 years, three at the most, you're not going to see anybody you know, you're not going to see anyone you care about, 2 to 3 years. But when you get home, when this is done, you will have enough money that you can live wherever you want and you'll never have to worry about money again. I would say yes. So now, as an older man, I empathize with Edward even. Do I think his intentions were purely, I'm doing this for the money? No. There's a lot of times where Edward almost dies and he's laughing about it. It's like, oh, that was fun. It's clear that Edward is an adrenaline junkie. It's clear that Edward's chasing what Edward wants to do. Edward thinks this is fun. But at the same time, we know that deep down, Edward wants to do this for his wife, and as we later find out, daughter. We don't know that Edward has a daughter. We don't know that I believe Edward's wife dies during childbirth. We don't know these things. But we find this out at the end, and it makes it even more impactful. Edward gave up his last minutes with his wife to try to give her the life that he believed she deserved. He wanted to give her a life worthy of living, and she ended up dying before he could. It's a tragic story, really. It's very sad. So instead, he decides to give his daughter a life of nobility. Your mother didn't survive. Your mother died. I was out making a ton of money so that I could spend the rest of my life with you. Now, Edward eventually gets assassinated. It's how his story ends. I forget who does it. I forget how they do it. But Edward eventually dies to an assassin's blade. His son Hatham grows up, gets involved with the Templars, and then comes to America. And this is how the two stories tie in between 4 and 3. And while Hatham is in America, he falls in love with a Native American woman whose name I still will not try to pronounce because I still to this day cannot pronounce it. And they have a child whose name I will not try to pronounce because to this day I still can't pronounce it, who is nicknamed Connor. And Connor is the grandson of Edward, who is now dead, and the son of Hatham, who is bebopping between the US and England. These stories all tie together. So, I identified with Connor quite a bit. When I was young, my parents were divorced. I lived with my mom. There was nothing I wouldn't do for my mom. And I was old enough to understand concepts when I played this game. So, I understood why Connor was so angry after the death of his mother. I'm assuming you've played these games. If you haven't, I'm sorry for the spoilers. But my point is, I guess to put a bow on this, games have gotten they're very, just do the same thing with a different color. Just like, it's like if we're building a new car and they're like, well, instead of building a whole new car, let's just release a new paint color. Like, we'll still build the 2025 F-150, but we'll offer it in a new color and we'll call it the 2026. It just kind of feels very cheap and phoned in. And I'll give you the perfect example of that is Far Cry 5, a protagonist I have no interest in. Because the protagonist doesn't speak. Completely silent protagonist. I hate silent protagonists, by the way. The protagonist's name is Rook. Short for rookie because he's the rookie sheriff's deputy. Makes sense, right? You can choose between a male or a female. Why? They have 0 dialect lines. It changes nothing. Your choice changes nothing. Throughout the game, you get referred to as Rook throughout the whole game. Or Rookie. Some people call you Rookie. But most people call you Rook. Some people call you Deputy. Like, It just depends. So you're either rook, rookie, deputy. Those are the three names you get called. But I don't have a connection to the deputy because it's just a floating set of eyeballs that I see the world through. Where I get a connection to Far Cry 5 is this is plausible. This is why we train. This is why we have rifles. This is why we have the weaponry that we have. This is why we carry a pistol every day. I empathize with the rookie, even though he's not a person. There's no character there. I empathize with him because I could be him. He is me. I am him. We are the same. Even though it's unlikely that it would happen, especially where I live, because we don't have the mountains to block us in. But well, we have the mountains on one side. The other side is just flat, and it's almost impossible to drop it. Like if you go west, it's just flat. If you go east, it's just mountains, and it's just hard to it's hard to get behind the rookie as a character. It's easy to put yourself in that position of no, I'm defending home. This is me going to fight for my home. It's very easy to put yourself in that place. Far Cry New Dawn comes out. Spoiler alert for Far Cry 5. The nuke gets dropped and Far Cry 5 ends. And then Far Cry New Dawn comes out, I don't know, 20, 40 years after, whatever. But you've lost weapons customization. You've lost character customization. You've lost all the fun stuff in the game. Everything that made Far Cry 5 good, they took away. They copy pasted the new world and sent it on its way. The theory is great. The idea is great. If they would have literally copy pasted the whole game and just changed it to post apocalyptic, it would have been so much better. Because the weapons modification system in Far Cry 5 was awesome. I loved it. I loved being able to put suppressors and paint jobs and optics, and it was super fun. And it was super simple, but they went to tiered weapons. You have a tier 1 weapon that just has iron sights. You have a tier 2 weapon that has an optic. You have a tier 3 weapon that has an optic and a suppressor. You have a tier 4 weapon that has an optic, a suppressor, and an extended mag. And it's like, this is dumb. I don't like this. The good stuff is gone. Now, I could see if you could combine the two and you could find, okay, this weapon, this is a wasteland weapon where, the iron sights are made out of whatever junk we could cobble them together with, because that is something in New Dawn that I do appreciate. A lot of the optics on like ARs is screwed to the rail with wood, and then it's like nails and shit that they use to make the optic, to make the iron sights, because it's post-apocalyptic. All the glass and scopes and stuff was destroyed. The red dots are all broken. They don't work anymore because of the EMP that comes after a nuke. Like, but if you could buy an improvised red dot, even if you could buy, maybe there was some that survived the blast, you could buy those, but they'd be really expensive, or they'd be hard to find. You have to go on a side quest to find your optic, and then you only have that optic, and you have to switch it across weapons, and switching it costs ammo because you have to zero it. Like, that would be something that would have made the game so much better. Even if you had the option to use improvised wasteland optics, like the red dot in the game is like a circle with like a wire through it and a wire through it. Like, even if you had the option to just buy that and put that on the gun, or just buy a suppressor, which maybe it's an oil filter, I don't know. But it just seems like games have gotten bad. And since Far Cry New Dawn came out, I'm not really interested in Far Cry anymore. Like, Far Cry New Dawn killed Far Cry. I wasn't interested in Far Cry 4, I'll be honest. I went 3 to 5. My brother played 6, and I didn't really care for 6. It just didn't really seem like my jam. I didn't really give a shit. After how good 5 was. The problem with 5 is there are so many different ways to play the game. You can do pretty much everything from a helicopter. You can do pretty much everything from an airplane. You can do pretty much everything on foot. It's just up to how you want to play the game. Now, what I like to do is I like to use a helicopter, infill to my objective, and then I will complete the objective, and then exfil to the helicopter. And I'll always use an armed helicopter because in the event that I need to get my ass out of there, I have an armed helicopter. That being said, though, you can call in air support. You have people in Far Cry 5 that have helicopters and planes that are armored and armed that you can call in air support, man. Like it is the most like holy shit that could happen game I've ever played, and I loved that about it. But then they went to New Dawn and completely ruined it. I just think gaming is falling apart. Gaming is failing right now. Movies are terrible too, by the way. We've only seen a couple of movies lately that have been really good. I have more hope for the movie industry than I do for the gaming industry, but movies are just blah. Primate was amazing in the worst sense. It wasn't, oh my god, the story of this movie is great. It was just like, monkey go mad. Like it was just angry monkey. That was it. I don't know. I just think media is falling apart. It's not interesting anymore. I hope it comes around. I really do, but I don't see it happening. But anyway, that's all I got. I'll leave it there. See you all in the next one. Later.